Welcome back. I literally just realized that I could use my computer to record these instead of my cell phone. So that's where I'm at, technology-wise, in case you're wondering. But today, I'm going to compare two films that I don't know if any film scholar has compared before. Although I think it's a pretty clear connection, and I'm talking, of course, about 1940's The Philadelphia Story, one of my favorite movies of all time, and 2013's This Is the End, the Seth Rogen, James Franco situation. And I don't mean that to sound condescending because I really, really love this movie too. But before we can get into my comparison, we need to talk a little about the star of The Philadelphia Story, Katharine Hepburn.
Oh, we're going to talk about me, are we? Goody.
If you know who Katharine Hepburn is, then you probably know that she's remembered today as one of the most epic leading ladies of all time in Hollywood history. But in 1938, she'd had a series of flops, and she was labeled box office poison. In May of 1938, an article was published in the trade mags on behalf of the Independent Theater Owners of America. And it basically was a heads up to the studios that most of their biggest contracted stars, to whom they were paying the most money, were not performing well enough at the box office to warrant all of that money. And lots of stars were named, but I think Katharine Hepburn was hit a little harder than most. Like I said, she'd had a series of flops, and she did end up actually buying out her RKO contract at a loss. Now, the same month that the box office poison article came out, Katharine Hepburn had a movie coming out called Holiday. And in order to kind of get in front of the bad publicity from this box office poison stuff, all of the marketing for this movie actually referenced it kind of cheekily. So here's an ad that says, "It's true what they say about Katharine Hepburn." But then, of course, what they say is just all of these, stars adoring her performance. But on the billboards for the movie, the wording was slightly different, and it said, "Is it true what they say about Katharine Hepburn?" And as you know, if you're looking for a specific answer, you should never leave it up to the public at large, because trolls have been around since the beginning of time. The roller derby is coming to town, and they want to draw audiences away from the box office, away from the movies, and get them into the roller derby. So, according to this biography called Kate, written by Charles Higham, the main star of the Derby was named Wes Anderson, and backers of the Derby went around graffitiing on all of the billboards to say, "Wes Anderson thinks it's true." But I thought this whole Wes Anderson thing sounded just a little too good to be true. So I actually looked up a New York Times article that came out when this actually happened. And according to the New York Times, his name was Wes Aronson, not Wes Anderson. So now that I have videos on the internet, I think maybe it's time for my first internet beef. So I'm calling out Charles Higham. You burnt. Anyway, that was a very long digression. We're supposed to be talking about Katharine Hepburn. Fun trivia: when Cate Blanchett won the Oscar for The Aviator for playing Katharine Hepburn, she became the first person to win an Academy Award for playing an Academy Award winner. So that's another digression for you. Okay, so Katharine Hepburn has now been labeled box office poison. A lot of people think maybe it's because she doesn't come off as that relatable. She can seem a little haughty, a little holier than thou, and maybe it's her affected New England accent, Or maybe it's because she's a boss who has opinions and insists on doing things her own way, like wearing pants like a man.
Art my eye. The art of putting up $100,000 to display the shapely legs of that will do. Oh, I give up.
So anyway, Katharine Hepburn realizes that she's going to have to do some major career rehab to get back on track. So she takes a little time off from the movies, and she stars in a play that is written specifically for her, and it's the stage version of the Philadelphia story. And basically, part of the idea behind this role that was written for Katharine Hepburn is that it is going to face head-on all of the things that people might not like about her. So throughout the play, which then became a movie, characters are calling her out for aspects of her personality that are pretty similar to the charges leveled against the real Katharine Hepburn.
Your sister has very definite opinions about certain things.
She's sort of, well, you know, hard, isn't she?
Certainly not. Tracy sets exceptionally high standards for herself, that's all. And other people aren't always quite apt to live up to them.
Now, that word hard is the exact word that's used to describe her in an article a couple years later after this movie saves her career. Spoiler alert. It's from the New York Times, 1942. The headline is "The Irrepressible Miss Hepburn." Not so long ago, Katharine Hepburn was coldly regarded as a flop. Today, she's a top box office attraction. She is unconventional, and she is intense. My other favorite excerpts. Young Kate early developed dislike to being a girl, donned boys' trousers, and generally bossed the neighborhood gang. But Hollywood in turn mistook Miss Hepburn's nonconformist ways as an affectation. She antagonized the press department by refusing to submit to interviews for the simple reason that they asked impertinent questions about her private life. So basically, now we're allowed to like these things about her because this movie kind of teaches us how to like her in spite of all of these flaws. So what you're about to see is basically one man after another mansplaining her own personality to her. And this is our main character. We're allied to her. She's where her sympathy is. So we get defensive of her when we see these men saying sometimes some terrible things to her.
You seem quite contemptuous of me all of a sudden.
No, Red. None of you. Never of you. Red, you could be the finest woman on this earth. I'm contemptuous of something inside of you you either can't help or make no attempt to. Your so-called strength, your prejudice against weakness, your blank intolerance.
Is that all?
That's the gist of it. Because you'll never be a first-class human being or a first-class woman until you've learned to have some regard for human frailty. It's a pity your own foot can't slip a little sometime. But your sense of inner divinity wouldn't allow that. This goddess must and shall remain intact.
Well, you're like some marvelous, distant, well, queen, I guess. You're so cool and fine and always so much your own. There's a kind of beautiful purity about you, Tracy, like a statue. Oh, it's grand, Tracy. It's what everybody feels about you. It's what I first worshipped you for from afar. First, now, and always. Only from a little mirror now. Hey, darling?
I don't want to be worshipped. I want to be loved.
I suppose the best mainstay a man can have as he gets along in years is a daughter. The right kind of daughter. How sweet. But with a girl of his own, full of warmth for him, full of foolish, unquestioning, uncritical affection.
None of which I've got.
None. You have a good mind, a pretty face, a disciplined body that does what you tell it. You have everything it takes to make a lovely woman except the one essential, an understanding heart. And without that, you might just as well be made of bronze.
That's an awful thing to say to anyone.
So we just basically watched her get pummeled over and over again. And I think this works on several different levels. because on one hand, you're like, whoa, dudes, like, stop mansplaining herself to herself and just let her be whoever that is. But on the other hand, you see how emotionally affected and hurt she is by some of these things. So you're seeing that humanity that they're accusing her of not having, and that she does struggle with some aspects of what people say about her. And then finally, if you do happen to share some of these harsher opinions, well, there's really nothing you can do to her anymore, because the film already said everything you could possibly say about her. Like, she knows how you feel, but she's in on it here. Also, over the course of the plot, she does soften. So basically, in every way, this film is showing you how to like Katharine Hepburn.
You're wonderful.
So to sum it up, what we basically have here is Katharine Hepburn kind of calling herself out, although not in a completely meta way, because she's not explicitly playing herself like some of the other characters we're going to be looking at. But actually, playing yourself is a great way to rehab an image. It shows that you can take a hit and be in on the joke and kind of reclaim your narrative. And in some cases, people take it to a really outlandish level where they're playing a complete caricature of themselves that doesn't really exist. And this has actually brought relevance back to a couple of people who are considered has-beens, like Neil Patrick Harris in Harold and Kumar, or JVDB in Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. So that brings us back to This Is the End. Because at this point, when they made that movie, I think there was a little bit of a backlash against them. I think they'd gotten really overexposed. People were kind of sick of them. They'd had some flops at the box office. And so throughout This Is the End, they kind of one by one, like anything that people could be saying about these actors, just like with Katharine Hepburn, they're going to say it to themselves over and over again in a way that's hilarious. And they start right off, the very, very opening of the film, Seth Rogen. You know, people say he only plays himself. What better way to be untouchable and in on the joke than to literally play yourself in your next movie?
Hey, Seth Rogen, what up, man? Seth Rogen, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good.
So you always play the same guy in every movie. When are you gonna do some real acting, man?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Seth Rogen, boom, handled. Next up, James Franco. People think you're a self-important weirdo. Here we go.
You don't like art? Well, come on now. You play video games?
Yes.
Well, guess what, buddy? You like art?
Yep.
You ever been to Subway?
Yes.
You order a sandwich? Somebody put that together for you, dude. So that's art.
I told you, artist.
Let me lay this on you, Jay.
Oh, fuck.
Your mama's pussy was the canvas, your dad's dick was the paintbrush. Boom! You're the art. Huh?
Thanks, James Franco.
You got it.
Okay, thank you, James Franco. We would expect nothing less. Now, Jonah Hill. Who is the real Jonah Hill anyway? And is he all uppity now that he's an Academy Award nominee?
Franco, you're some pretentious fucking nerd.
Fuck you.
Jonah, you fucking cunt.
Jonah Hill, America's sweetheart. J-Bug, J-Bone, your friend.
Yes, so Michael Cera's gone. It's not a total loss, huh? Michael Cera's dead.
It's not like that.
That's not funny, man.
Seth, that's a better performance than you've given in your last 6 movies. Where the fuck was that in Green Hornet, huh? Jonah, you're fucking sucking balls. You're an Academy Award nominated person. You need to be fucking selling that shit, dude. Fatalities. There's some fatalities.
Fatalities.
Okay, well, that was good.
They may all be assholes, but they're in on the joke. Everyone's having a great time. We can root for them again.
If this is the end of the world and all the good people died, what you're saying is Seth, me, Jonah, Craig, and Danny are a bunch of assholes.
So, in conclusion,
The time to make up your mind about people is never.
and If you'd like to learn more about the Philadelphia story, I highly recommend listening to the DVD commentary track recorded by film historian Janine Basinger.